Right, it's time for another nature walk. This one ends with a really beautiful view, so make sure you stay tuned for that. We're going to read a story, a really fascinating story that this fellow who watches my channel sent to me. He was in a friends with benefits relationship for about a year, a very sexual one, and he didn't like her at all. But as soon as she moves overseas and she starts dating other guys, he finds that he's crazy jealous, and he wants my thoughts on this, so let's go ahead and read that. I am a 28-year-old Belgian male living in Colombia for a bit more than 3 years now. I ended a 2 years long relationship with a local girl about 1 year ago. A bit after breaking up with her, I started dating this chick that isn't really good looking, but has an astonishing body, the ballet dancer. She recently ended up her long-term relationship too, and we conveniently made pretty clear that we were only going to be sex friends, meaning no dinner dates, no kissing in public, no one really knowing about us. Basically, we would meet once or twice a week just to have sex. Sex has been really good as we like the same stuff in bed and haven't felt any pressure as we both felt we were really free without any couple commitment. After some months, she started mentioning she wanted to do more activities with me, not only having sex, like going to the cinema or going out with friends. I stopped her right away, saying I didn't want to deal with any sorts of relationship activities or whatsoever. Strangely enough, she didn't take it too bad, and we kept on with our sex friends routine. 1 month later, as sex was becoming more and more intimate, in brackets, she would ask if she could stay overnight, sex toys, sex rolls, etc. One night she was tipsy, she told me she really liked me and wished we could be officially in a relationship. Again, I rejected her offer as I'm not looking for any kind of commitment, and also because I am seeing other girls from time to time and don't want any kind of exclusive relationship with her. She was a little bit sad but didn't make a scandal out of it, and we kept on with our lives and our sex friends' habit. I never felt anything for her, as I find her a bit annoying after being with her for a bit. She is not the most beautiful girl for sure, and also we don't share much in common. The relationship is purely sexual, and I feel it's great that way, and she doesn't seem to mind so much as long as she can see me from time to time. So far, I felt I had the upper hand in that relationship, as I don't feel anything for her and she really likes me, although she might appear a bit leaned back, in brackets. Maybe I got a bit manipulative with her so our sex habits wouldn't end up, I have to admit. Although it might not be the most sane way to maintain our friendship, I continued acting like before as I figured out if it had to end up one day, the one suffering from it would be her. 1 month ago, she left Barcelona for an internship, 2 months long, and I wished her good luck and didn't even really mind she would be in that crazy city for 2 months, as she is a pretty serious girl generally, and again, I had zero feeling for her. 2 weeks ago, I was chatting with her, and she mentioned that she was dating many dudes over there, and that she was surprisingly successful with many of them. I got really mad, but didn't want to show it. I felt jealousy to the core of my guts, but I also thought that it might be a lie, as maybe she would tell me that just to make me jealous. Which is not her type at all, she never did it in the whole year. Then I came across the video where you mentioned how girls become so openly sexual when they travel abroad thanks to the lack of pressure of being in the same environment with people you might know. I started thinking about it a lot, and I have to admit it is driving me crazy. How can she do that to me? Wait, we are not in a relationship. I constantly rejected her offers to become officially a couple. It is completely normal that she's enjoying life and exploring her sexuality over there. But Jesus, it is so painful. I can't even sleep properly as I dream of that situation so often. It is almost like the karma is hitting me really hard. I understand what is happening and try to relativize, but what blows my mind is how I went from never having the slightest feeling for her to becoming so jealous to the point of feeling sick. Is it how it feels when you completely lose control on something that you are so confident to master? Is it jealousy or possessivity? How can I overcome it? Shall I share that with her? I don't even want to be in a relationship with her when she comes back. I have the feeling it is pure childish possessivity. Possessivity. I don't know that word, sorry. I have no clue how to solve this problem. It is slowly but surely eating me from the inside. Too long didn't read. I have been having sex with a friend for a year and never felt anything for her. Now that she's away for 2 months and told me that she's having various sexual partners, I am literally melting from the inside as jealousy and anger is consuming me. That is an intense story. Alright, let's get into it. Let's start with some of the lighter stuff. I'd love to hear more from you about what it's like dating in Latin America. Because foreign dating markets are very different, and a European man or a man of European descent can sometimes either be at an advantage or a disadvantage depending on the country that he's in. I know quite a lot about how the dating market works in Asia because that's sort of Australia's backyard. It's close by to where I live, and I've traveled through Asia pretty extensively, but I've never been to South America or Central America. So anyone in the comments section, please let me know what that's like. You sound surprised that she's been successful when she's gone to Europe, she's gone to Spain, but I'm not at all surprised because, well, think of it like this. Back in Colombia, she has to compete for the European man. Like, let's just assume that my theory is that European men tend to have an advantage if they're in Latin America, I don't know, seen as wealthy or exotic or some variation thereof. So probably her and all of her friends are competing for guys like you, and she probably is not feeling particularly pretty or desirable because, she can't even get in a relationship with you. But in Europe, she's just another girl. Now, we know how the dating market works in the West. In the West, the women absolutely have an intense advantage. There are hundreds of guys absolutely falling over themselves to be in a relationship with her. So yeah, when she goes to Europe and she's around all of that, she's going to be successful because there's a bunch of guys lining up for every decent looking girl. Now, you say she's not pretty, but you say she's got an amazing figure. That's enough for a lot of guys. Yeah, she's going to be successful. Now, it's true what I said in that video that, yeah, a lot of girls are nervous about the slut shaming and the social stigma bound around being extremely sexual and having lots of sexual partners in the home country. So they'll often save the more intense parts of their, let's say, experimentation for when they go overseas. And that might be at play here. But I'd say what's a lot more likely, if you want to find a direct cause for why she is dating a whole bunch of guys and having lots of sexual experiences, is it's probably the way that you treated her, dude. Like, if she wanted to be in a relationship with you for a year, and she was like, wow, he really won't give me any kind of commitment. He won't even come out and have dinner with me. He just wants me for sex. I mean, I'm sure you had a good time during the sex, and she probably did too, but that would take an intense toll on your self-esteem. So she's probably leaving Colombia, going to Spain, thinking, wow, this is rough. I'm not attractive. I'm not desirable. I can't even get a guy to be in a relationship with me. Now, the first couple of guys that show her some love, show her some attention in Spain, she's going to be like, wow, look at this. I am desirable. I am attractive. People like me. And she has got a self-esteem deficit created by the relationship or lack thereof with you. And she's going to make up for it now. She's making up for lost time. I think that's what's going on. All right. That's some of the lighter stuff. Let's get into the stuff that's a little bit more heavy. I imagine what I'm going to tell you is probably not what you're expecting to hear. This is not a story about how there was a girl who was secretly more special than you realized and you took her for granted, and now you're realizing how amazing she is and you're going to want to get back into a relationship with her now that you've kind of grown up. That's not at all what's going on. That would be the truth if we were watching a Hollywood movie, but here in reality, I'd say the answer's a little bit more bleak. So let's go from the start. Let's look at this arrangement that you made. You wanted to have a sexual relationship that didn't include any kind of typical couple activities. You wanted to have sex, but you didn't want to go out to dinner. You wouldn't go out to the movies. You didn't want to hang out with her friends. I mean, to me, it actually doesn't sound like you would even want to be friends with this girl. You said that you actually find her a bit annoying, that you have nothing in common. I think that the mistake that you made is not, letting her go and not putting in a relationship. I think the mistake is that you had a sexual relationship with this girl. Really, it doesn't sound like you're meeting at any kind of level apart from the sexual, and is that really good enough? Now, don't misunderstand me. I'm not having a go at people who want to have non-exclusive relationships. If you want to be non-exclusive, call it polyamorous or have an open relationship, I'm absolutely all for that. You're only 28, and I'm particularly for that for men in their 20s and early 30s. I think it's really, really important. I would actually advise against exclusivity until you're really, really, really certain. So that's completely valid. You need to see what your options are. It's great to gain a lot of experience. By being with lots of girls, you're learning about yourself. Fantastic. So non-exclusive relationships, I'm a fan of. I'm a proponent of. But, and this might surprise some people, I'm really not a fan of casual sex. Um, and in this instance, I mean, having a sexual relationship with somebody who you don't really like. I don't really get the point or the benefit of that. I think that it's a distraction and it's something that's unhealthy. Now, I'm not coming from a moralizing tone. I'm not like some Christian conservative guy who's hating on you for exploring your sexuality. That's not all what's going on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to explain from a practical point of view, psychologically and to do with your self-esteem, why a casual sex relationship with a girl that you don't like is not good for you. Now, there's a number of different reasons why someone would enter into a casual sex relationship. The most obvious being that they're just horny. Like, and guys are horny. You want to have sex all the time. I get it. It's an intense kind of feeling. And if it's been a little while, if you're sad because of a relationship breaking up, you're surrounded by beautiful Latin women all the time, you're going to feel like the desire to have sex. And that's going to require you sometimes to lower your standards so that you can have sex with somebody. I understand why people do it, but I don't think that's a good reason. I think that rather than getting yourself involved with another person, messing your karma with theirs, I think you better just, taking matters into your own hands. Let's go with that. So yeah, sometimes people do casual sex just because they're horny. More common, they're doing it for validation. It's a psychological reason. You just want to feel sexually desired. It's a bit of a self-esteem boost. That's also not a good reason to have casual sex. Another reason is people get lonely. Some people are just, if they're gone, a week or two, a month, a year even, and they've never been held, they've never been touched, then they want that. And they don't really know how to ask for that from mutual friends. Like, hey, I know that we're just friends and that you're a woman and then I'm a guy, but I don't really want to have sex. I just want you to come and spend the night cuddling with me on my couch or fall asleep in my arms. People want that. That's absolutely fine. But our culture doesn't do a particularly good job of understanding people's needs for physical touch in a non-sexual way. And so inevitably it just becomes sexual. But for a lot of people, they use the sex actually just as a means of getting to the physical intimacy that's non-sexual, which is really, really sad. I hope that our culture becomes more mature in that sense. Now, as I've read those three, you're probably thinking, oh yeah, those apply to me in small or large degrees. It's difficult for me to say exactly which one's the strongest, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say that none of them is the primary reason why you've entered into this casual sex relationship. I think that you've done it because you're liking the power dynamic that you're in. You like the fact that she wants you more than you wanted her. That's my guess, and I'll explain why. I'll first explain why people would want this. If you have not felt valued in the past in relationships, if you haven't felt desirable, then this is an absolute perfect antidote to that. If you've been the one who's constantly chasing after women and now you find yourself in a relationship where that you're not getting triggered in that same sort of self-deprecating kind of manner, you're the one on top, you're the one who has the power, that's going to feel really, really good. So yeah, you were confident because you had the power, but that's been taken away from you. So what I want you to do is be really, really honest about what you are getting out of this relationship. Because I'm guessing that it's psychological. I'm guessing that you enjoyed the fact that she wanted you a lot more than you wanted her. Now, I really don't think that this is just about the physical sensation of sex. If it was just about the physical sensation, you'd just buy a fleshlight and you'd be in complete control of it. People don't enter into relationships, even really simple, superficial sexual relationships like this one, without there being more to it than just the desire than just a desire to get off. You want something psychologically, so look inside yourself and try and find out what that is. What's more is, I would say that what you were getting from this was actually really, really important to you, because look how much it's affecting you now that it's gone, and look how you behaved in the relationship. You actually betrayed your morals. You said that you were manipulative to her just to maintain the arrangement that you're in. Now, when you're manipulative, when you're doing things that aren't in your integrity, that aren't authentic to the core of what your being truly is, that's a pretty intense stage to take. That's going to start messing with your sleep. You're going to have a conscience, that voice in the back of your head saying, hey man, you're not really doing very well. You're kind of lying. You're kind of tricking this girl. I mean, that's an intense stage to take. And I don't think that you'd take that stage if you were really feeling casual about this. There's something really, really important psychologically that this relationship was giving you. So like I said, I don't think that this is the story of a lost soulmate, someone who you were meant to be with, but you just didn't realize. Definitely not. That's not what's going on here. I would say that if you were really honest with yourself, when you were looking at what you got out of this relationship, you would find that there was an underlying insecurity, something inside yourself, a self-esteem issue that was really, really unpleasant, possibly from childhood, possibly from previous relationships, but something that didn't make you feel good about yourself. Having this casual relationship, having this girl who was willing to have sex with you when you wanted, who wanted more from you, but you had the power, that relationship kept that feeling at bay. It was like a numbing agent, and you didn't have to deal with that underlying insecurity so long as you were still in this relationship. Which is okay, I suppose, so long as she's around and you don't have to become too manipulative to maintain it. But obviously, it's not a permanent solution because, hey, look what happened. You didn't make a commitment to her and now she's off with other guys. Of course. I mean, that was always going to happen. So you don't have that Band-Aid anymore. And what's happened is that underlying insecurity, that thing that you've avoided for this past year, that has come crashing back into your life. Big time. And now you have to deal with it. Now, you're probably thinking, I don't know, like this pain that I'm feeling, it feels very specific to her. The case you're making is that this isn't about her, that it's about me. And yeah, that's absolutely the case. So why is it that instead of identifying the emotion that you're going through right now, this thing that's keeping you sleepless, instead of going, oh yes, that's insecurity or that's a lack of self-esteem, why does it feel like jealousy? Well, understand that the brain is absolutely hardwired to avoid pain. It does not want to go through the difficult stuff. So, yes, you don't want to be feeling jealousy, but if it's a choice between sexual jealousy as a feeling or confronting the deepest fears that you have about yourself, you will choose this jealousy. That's actually a preferable choice. And you can see where I'm getting with this is that what you're going through at the moment is a distraction. It's something that you're choosing to focus on. It's easier to focus on her and what she's up to because as unpleasant as that is, it's actually a less intense and less confronting thing than looking at your own insecurities and looking inside yourself. But you really have nowhere else to go. You have to absolutely deal with it because let's just run through the scenario of what happens if you don't deal with this insecurity. You don't take the time to really feel the pain, go to therapy, do the meditation, whatever your method is. If you don't deal with it and she comes back, you'll probably try and be in a relationship with her. You'll be so overcome with this pain and so convinced that she's the source of it that when she gets back, you'll be like, oh my God, I realize how wrong I was. I just need to be in a relationship with you, because I feel so much worse when I'm not with you, etc., etc., etc. I mean, you say you won't do that, but you wouldn't be the first person to believe that you wouldn't do it and then suddenly find yourself, 6 years into a relationship that you never wanted to start in the first place. And you'll be as miserable as those guys were because, like you said, you have nothing in common. You don't like her. You actually find her annoying. But what would convince you to be in a relationship with her is if you thought the alternative is worse. And how you're feeling at the moment, that restlessness, that's the alternative. And that's why you've got to deal with it. I promise you, brother, if you look really honestly at what's going on inside yourself, what you're getting out of the relationship to begin with, and what is this really horrible feeling inside yourself that you're trying to distract with this jealousy feeling, if you can sort through that, you will be a really strong guy. A very small percentage of the population ever is that authentic and honest with themselves. And those that are become absolute killers, absolute heroes in society. They move through it easily. Mental health is a difficult thing to achieve, to really be at peace with yourself. But if you manage it and you have a genuinely positive, strong, robust self-esteem, you'll feel like a superhero and life will be so much easier. It's some short-term pain, which your brain is not going to want to deal with because it just doesn't like pain, but it's some short-term pain for some long-term gain. This is where the rational side of yourself needs to kick in and go, all right, no more distractions, no more casual relationships, no more selling myself for less than I'm actually worth, no more engaging with people who I'm not even interested in. I'm worth more than that. And if I don't believe that I'm worth more than that, I need to find out why I don't believe that and then make some changes. So, possibly not what you're expecting. I may have gone out on a limb, made a couple of assumptions, but I'm really hoping that some things that I said here hit home and that you are able to work through this situation and that, frankly, you never have a repeat of that. If you're making the same mistakes, going through the same thing in a year's time, you're jealous of some other girl, that would be sad. I think that it's fine to be in the situation that you are. I'm not even judging you for getting all manipulative. You know, you're in your 20s, you're going to make mistakes, but you've got to learn from those mistakes. All right, thanks everyone so much for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Leave a comment below letting us know what you thought of this situation, what you thought of my advice, any and all thoughts. I'd like to hear from you. And if you like this kind of content, you want to support the creator, check out my Patreon. If you have a story that you want my comment on, just send it to my email. Obviously, priority goes to my Patreon subscribers. But I want to thank you so much for listening and coming on this nature walk with me, and I'll catch you again next time.